Okay, welcome to part 4 of lecture 4. Okay, so we saw how we could run it in the previous part. We saw how we could run the experiment with multiple replications. And now we're going to start looking at different ways we can use Simio to explore these, to analyze the data. This kind of data analysis is going to be sort of the cursory look. We're going to want to do the more detailed look within R. However, this kind of look can be very valuable because it can save you time before you, do the more sophisticated stuff in R. What we're going to be interested in is the following. We want the average customer time in system, the average number of customers in the system, the average cashier utilization, and the average barista utilization. Remember, these first two numbers here, these were our customer level statistics. And these last two were the system level. And we're going to see how to add these 4 statistics to our design tab as responses. Because as you saw in that pivot table, there's just a tremendous amount of data and tremendous number of variables to keep track of. In general, it's not going to be very meaningful to try to look at everything. So when we do the design of our experiments, we want to organize this in such a way that we're only tracking the things that we really need to pay attention to. So what we're going to do is we need to add responses. So actually, let's just go back to here. What we want to do here is you're going to see this tab over here in the main section of the design, and that's your responses. If you click on this box here, this thing highlighted in blue, and then you look to the right, this is in the far right, you're going to see the properties of this. And you can see that there's all these different properties listed here. Okay, so the first is the general name of the response. Then we have the display name of the response, the expression. This is going to be actually where the code goes. So we're going to have a little code block here. And this code block, I'll talk about that in a bit more detail via the examples. The unit type, this is really going to depend on what we use for the expression. The objective, this is actually if we were minimizing or maximizing, if we had a goal. So this would be introducing optimization into our simulation. And then these are going to be the lower and upper bounds of such a response. Okay, so let's start with the example of average customer time in system. So we can change the name. So this would be, we edited these fields. And we changed it to average time in system. You'll note that it automatically populates the display name. We could change that too if we wanted it to be something shorter or more succinct. The tricky bit is how do we get this correct expression? You're going to see it's a large number of variables, and it might be kind of intimidating at first because where does this all come from? So where this comes from is that if you just start typing, if you just click on it, it's going to give you, if you could go back to the expression, if you just click here, what's going to happen, it'll have a little drop-down box here. And when you click on that, you're going to see that it has the option for midshipman or whatever you named your entity. So this should be the entity name. You can see why naming the entity in a way that communicates what it is starts to get valuable, right? Because it saves you time from having to look up. If you named it something generic, you might have to look up what you named it, versus if you name it something specific and communicative, you'll just know, oh, right, that's the midshipman. And each of these dots, this is sort of a Java, C++ style kind of dereferencing, or C style dereferencing. The dot is basically saying there's a property. So a lot of times you have a structure. Oh, sorry, let me write that again. A lot of times you have a structure, like in this case it's midshipman. And if you put a dot, it's going to have a property underneath that. And that can be nested further. Like when you click on that midshipman, you're going to see it has the structure, the property population. If you click on population, there'll be another dot introduced, and you're going to see it has a bunch of different properties. Click on time and system. And when you click on that, that's going to have properties, like it'll have average or max or min. And then you click average because that's what we want. Now, here, this does have a unit. It's time. It's a time unit. And let's put it into seconds. Okay. Again, this is going to help you, when you have the right scale, especially for time, whether it's seconds or minutes or hours, that's going to be important in terms of understanding how to interpret the results you see. Okay, you can do the same thing for average number and system. You can see how, as opposed to this, you can see the property you need after midshipman and population. You need the number and system, and again, you get the average for it. Note that this has no unit type because it's just a number. There's no units to attach. I mean, the units are technically midshipman, but of course that's not a generic enough thing where they're going to have it in Simio. Okay, you can get the cashier utilization here instead of midshipman. The first structure you're going to pick is the cashier. Again, that's going to have a capacity and a scheduled utilization. That's what we want for that. That's how Simio calls utilization. And you do the same thing for the barista. Note that all these are unspecified because utilization numbers are automatically expressed as fractions. Okay, so now you should stop, if you haven't already, the current experiment. You should reset it. Those are those buttons kind of up here. And then you rerun it. When you do so, you're going to see all these new results in the design window, and then you can click over here in response results, and you can actually get different plots. So you can click on the confidence intervals and the histogram plots, and that's going to give us these different intervals for where in this case, what are we looking at? We're looking at the average number in system, or average time in system, and you can see here it's giving us the confidence interval, and these are the different histograms. So this is the number of times that, the longer the box is, that represents the number of experiments which had that bucket of average time in system. And so down here you can see the confidence interval and and where the sort of the mean is.